Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's English learning session. I'm excited to dive into a topic that often feels tricky, but is truly the backbone of clear English grammar. Let's start with a story about a learner named Xiao Ting, someone many of you might relate to. Xiao Ting works in a small import-export company, and her job sometimes requires sending short emails to international clients. Last month, she needed to tell a client when their order would be ready. She wrote, "I finish your order tomorrow." The client replied confused, asking if she meant the order was already finished, since finish sounds like present tense, or if it would be done the next day. Xiao Ting felt embarrassed. She knew what she wanted to say, but the grammar mistake muddled her message. Later, she told me, "I always skip grammar practice because it feels boring, but now I see, if I don't get grammar right, even simple messages go wrong." Does this sound familiar? Many of us think grammar is just a list of strict rules to memorize, something boring or even unnecessary if we know enough words. But here's the truth. Grammar is like the framework of a house. Imagine building a house with only bricks, that's your vocabulary, but no nails or cement, that's grammar. The walls might stand for a minute, but they'll soon lean, crack, or fall apart. In the same way, without grammar, your sentences might be understood occasionally, but they'll often feel messy, confusing, or unprofessional. Today, we'll walk through how to learn grammar not as a chore, but as a practical tool, one that helps you say exactly what you mean, understand others easily, and feel confident in every English moment. We'll use simple, everyday examples, follow Xiao Ting's learning journey to keep things relatable, and focus on methods that work for real-life use. No complicated jargon, no endless rule lists. By the end, you'll have a clear, actionable plan to master grammar step by step. Part 1. Why grammar matters. It's not about perfection, it's about connection. Let's start with the most basic question. Why does grammar matter anyway? It's not about being perfect or avoiding every tiny mistake. It's about making sure your ideas land clearly, so the person you're talking to or writing to understands exactly what you mean, no guesswork needed. Take Xiao Ting's email mistake again. When she wrote, "I finish your order tomorrow," the client couldn't tell if finish was present tense, meaning the order was already done, or future, meaning it would be done tomorrow. A small grammar fix, changing finish to will finish, turn the confusing sentence into a clear one. "I will finish your order tomorrow." Suddenly, the client knew exactly what to expect, and Xiao Ting's professionalism shone through. Grammar also helps you understand others faster. Think about listening to a news report. The government has announced a new policy to help small businesses. If you know grammar, you can quickly spot the key parts. The government, who's doing the action, has announced what they did and that it's recent, and a new policy, what they announced. Without that grammar knowledge, you might hear a jumble of words and struggle to piece together the meaning. Writing is where grammar matters most for clarity and professionalism. Imagine applying for a part-time job and writing, "I work in a cafe last year." The hiring manager might wonder if you're lying. Did you work there or not? Or just careless? But if you write, "I worked in a cafe last year," it's clear, honest, and shows you pay attention to details, qualities employers love. Xiao Ting learned this firsthand after her email mix-up. She started paying attention to grammar in her work messages, and within a month, her clients stopped asking for clarifications. One client even replied, Your emails are so clear. Thank you for making this easy. That small win made her realize grammar isn't about rules. It's about respect for the person you're communicating with. It says, I care enough to make sure you understand me. Part 2. Common grammar challenges and why they feel tricky. Many learners feel stuck with grammar because English rules often don't match the rules of their native language. Let's break down the most common challenges, using Xiao Ting's experiences to make them concrete. No confusing lists, just real-life moments. First, tenses are often the biggest hurdle. English has past, present, and future tenses, plus variations like present perfect or past continuous. And mixing them up can change meaning entirely. Xiao Ting used to say things like, I eat dinner yesterday, when she meant she'd eaten the night before. She didn't realize that eat is present tense for things you do regularly, like I eat dinner every night, and ate is past tense for things that happen once, like I ate dinner yesterday. Once she started linking tenses to time, present equals now / regular, past equals done, future equals not yet, it got easier. For example, she'd think, yesterday is past, so I need a tomorrow is future, so I need will eat. Second, prepositions. Small words like in, on, at, or by feel confusing because there's no one-size-fits-all rule. Xiao Ting used to say, I'm in the bus instead of I'm on the bus. She wondered why both in and on mean being inside something, right? Then she noticed a pattern. We use on for things that are like platforms you stand or sit on, buses, trains, planes, and in for things that are small, enclosed spaces you sit inside, cars, taxis. So it's on the bus, but in the car. She practiced this by pointing out prepositions as she went about her day. I'm on the subway now. I'll meet you at the cafe. The book is in my bag. Soon, it felt natural. Third, articles, a, in, and the, are easy to skip, but they make sentences sound complete and natural. Xiao Ting used to say, I go to market, instead of I go to the market. She thought articles were unnecessary, but native speakers kept asking, which market? The article that tells people you're talking about a specific market, the one near your home, for example, not just any market. She also learned that a and are for things that are new or not specific. I bought a banana, one banana, not a particular one, versus the banana was sweet, that specific banana she bought. Now, if she checks her sentences for articles, did I miss an or the? Does it make the sentence clearer? Fourth, word order. English follows a subject-verb-object, SVO, pattern, which is different from some languages. For example, we say she drinks tea, subject, she verb. Drinks, object, tea, not tea drinks she. Xiao Ting never mixed this up too badly, but she did sometimes put adverbs in the wrong place, like I every morning drink coffee instead of I drink coffee every morning. She fixed this by remembering adverbs of time, like every morning, yesterday, tomorrow, usually go at the end of a sentence. Now she says, I walk to work every morning. I watched a movie yesterday. Simple, correct, and easy to understand. Finally, conditionals, sentences with if, feel tricky because they talk about what if situations, not just facts. Xiao Ting used to say, if it rains, I stay home, instead of if it rains, I will stay home. She didn't realize that for real, possible situations, like rain tomorrow, we need will in the second part. For unreal situations, like having wings, we use a different form, If I had wings, I would fly to Tokyo. She practiced this by linking conditionals to her daily plans. If I have time after work, I will call my mom. Real versus if I had more money, I would buy a new laptop. Unreal. Slowly, she stopped mixing them up. The good news? All these challenges get easier with practice, especially when you learn them in the context of your own life, not just a textbook. Shouting didn't master tenses or prepositions overnight, but she took it one step at a time, and soon the mistakes got fewer and fewer. Part 3. Learning grammar in context. Forget lists. Use real life. One of the biggest mistakes learners make is trying to memorize grammar rules in isolation, like writing past tense equals verb plus ed in a notebook and hoping to remember it. But grammar isn't abstract. It's alive in every sentence you read, hear, or say. The best way to learn it is to meet it in real context, through stories, videos, or your own daily moments. Shouting learned this when she started watching short English cooking videos. She loves baking, so this felt fun, not like study. One day, she watched a video where the host said, "Yesterday, I baked a chocolate cake. I mixed flour, sugar, and eggs, then put in the oven for 30 minutes. She noticed something. Every verb baked, mixed, put was in past tense because the host was talking about something she'd done the day before. Instead of writing past tense equals verb plus ed, Shouting wrote down the host's whole sentence, then added her own. Yesterday, I baked cookies. I mixed butter and sugar, then put them in the oven for 15 minutes. This worked because she tied the grammar to something she cared about, baking, and something she'd actually done. A week later, when she told her friend about her weekend, she said, I baked cookies on Saturday. They were delicious. She didn't have to think about past tense. It just came out because she'd practiced it in a context that mattered to her. Listening for grammar in real life also helps. Shouting started paying attention to how native speakers use grammar in podcasts. She listens to a short daily podcast about work life. One episode said, I have worked at this company for 5 years. She wondered why the host used have worked instead of worked. She looked it up using a simple grammar app and learned have worked, present perfect, is for actions that started in the past and continue now, like working at a company for 5 years and still being there. Worked, past simple, is for actions that ended like I worked at a shop last year and don't work there now. Shouting then made her own sentence. I have studied English for 2 years. It felt meaningful because it was true, and she remembered the difference between present perfect and past simple ever since. Shadowing is another great way to learn grammar in context. Shadowing means repeating sentences aloud right after you hear them, like shadowing the speaker. Shouting did this with her cooking videos. When the host said, I will add chocolate chips to the dough, Shouting repeated it, focusing on the future tense will add. When the host said, the cake is cooling on the counter, she repeated that too, noticing the present continuous is cooling for something happening now. She found that shadowing trained her mouth and brain to use grammar naturally. After a month, she noticed she was using tenses like will or is doing without pausing to think, because she practiced saying them in real sentences, not just memorizing rules. Reading short, simple texts also helps. Shouting started reading a weekly English newsletter about daily life. One article said, a woman in my neighborhood grows beautiful flowers. Every weekend, she waters them. Last week, she gave me a bouquet of roses. She underlined the verbs grows, present simple for regular actions, waters, present simple, gave, past simple for a one-time action. Then she wrote her own version about her neighbor. Mr. Lee lives next door. He walks his dog every morning. Last Friday, he helped me carry my groceries. This let her practice grammar while telling a story about someone she knew, making it far more memorable than a textbook exercise. Part 4. Step-by-step grammar practice. Start small, build confidence. Learning grammar doesn't mean tackling everything at once. It means starting with the basics, the grammar you use most in daily life, and mastering them before moving to more complex stuff. Xiao Ting followed this approach, and it kept her from feeling overwhelmed. She started with basic tenses, present simple, past simple, and future simple. These are the tenses we use to talk about regular habits, things that happened, and plans for later. So they're essential for everyday communication. For present simple, regular habits, she practiced describing her daily routine. Every morning, she'd say aloud, I wake up at 7 a.m. I brush my teeth. I eat breakfast at 7:30. I walk to work at 8. She wrote these sentences in a small notebook, and if she made a mistake like I waking up, she corrected it right away. After a week, she could talk about her routine without looking at her notes. Next, past simple things that happened. Xiao Ting used her evening journal for this. Every night, she wrote 3 sentences about her day using past tense. I had a meeting at 10 a.m. I ate lunch with my colleague. I watched a short video before bed. At first, she forgot to change verbs like I have a meeting, but she'd check her sentences and fix them. After 2 weeks, past tense started to feel automatic. She'd write I had or I ate without thinking. Then, future simple plans. Xiao Ting used this to talk about her weekend or upcoming days. She'd say to herself, tomorrow, I will go to the supermarket. I will buy milk and eggs. I will cook dinner for my family. She also used it in messages. When her friend asked if she wanted to meet, she wrote, I will be free at 3 p.m. Let's meet at the cafe. Once she felt confident with these 3 tenses, she moved to prepositions, starting with the one she used most, in on at. She made a game of it. Every time she used a preposition, she'd mentally check if it was right. For example, when she got on the bus, I'm on the bus now, correct. When she arrived at work, I'm at the office, correct. When she put her phone in her bag, my phone is in my bag, correct. She also made flashcards, digital ones, on her phone with simple phrases on Monday in January at 3 p.m. She'd review them for 5 minutes every morning while drinking coffee. Short enough to fit into her routine, but consistent enough to stick. After prepositions, she tackled articles. Xiao Ting started by adding the to specific things, the market near my home, the coffee shop on Main Street, the book I'm reading. For a and in, she used them for new, unspecific things. I bought a pen, I saw an interesting video, I met a friend for lunch. She'd stop herself if she forgot an article, like saying, I go to cafe, instead I go to a cafe, and correct it out loud. Xiao Ting also used simple grammar apps to practice. She liked one app that gave short, daily exercises, like matching sentences to the right tense or filling in the correct preposition. The app gave instant feedback. If she got a question wrong, it explained why, e.g., we use on 4 days, on Tuesday, not in Tuesday. This helped her learn from mistakes right away instead of waiting for a teacher to correct her. The key for shouting was consistency, not length. She spent 15 to 20 minutes on grammar every day, never more. Some days, she watched a cooking video and practiced past tense. Other days, she reviewed preposition flashcards. On busy days, she just wrote 3 sentences in her journal. Over time, these small, daily steps added up to big progress. Part 5. Understanding mistakes. They're not failures, they're feedback. One of the biggest fears learners have is making grammar mistakes. Shouting used to erase her sentences over and over, scared of writing something wrong. But then she realized mistakes are part of learning. They're how your brain figures out what works and what doesn't. Take one mistake Xiaoting made often. She don't like coffee. She'd write this in her journal, then realize it sounded off. She looked it up and learned. When the subject is he, she, or it, third person singular, we use doesn't instead of don't. So the correct sentence is, she doesn't like coffee. She wrote both the wrong and correct versions in her notebook. Wrong. She don't like coffee. Correct. She doesn't like coffee. Why? She is third person singular, so use doesn't. A week later, she almost wrote, he don't play soccer, but she caught herself. She remembered her notebook entry. She corrected it to, he doesn't play soccer, and smiled. That's the power of analyzing mistakes. They become lessons, not failures. Another mistake Xiaoting made was with conditionals. If I am rich, I buy a big house. She thought this was right, but when she showed it to her English friend, the friend said, it sounds like you are rich now. If you mean what if, you need would buy. Xiaoting learned that for unreal situations, things that aren't true now, we use were even for I end would plus verb. If I were rich, I would buy a big house. She added this to her notebook too, with a note. Unreal if equals were plus would. She also noticed how children learn grammar. Her 5-year-old niece, Xiaomei, says things like I run fast instead of I ran. But Xiaomei doesn't get upset. She just keeps talking, and over time, she'll correct herself. Xiaoting realized adults are too hard on themselves. We think mistakes mean we're bad at English, but really, they mean we're trying, and trying is how we get better. Now, when Xiaoting makes a grammar mistake, she does 3 things. She writes down the wrong sentence and the correct one. She adds a short note explaining why the correct one works. She makes a new sentence with the correct grammar to practice. For example, when she wrote, I have 20 years old, wrong, she corrected it to, I am 20 years old, correct. Noted use and slash is slash are for age, not have, and made a new sentence. My brother is 18 years old. This simple routine turned mistakes from something scary into something helpful. After a month, she started seeing patterns in her mistakes. She often forgot doesn't for third person singular or mixed up and slash is slash are for age, and she could fix them before they happened. Part 6. Combining grammar with listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Grammar doesn't exist in a bubble. It works best when you use it with all 4 English skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Xiaoting found that combining grammar with the skills she already uses made it feel useful, not just theoretical. Let's start with reading. Xiaoting loves reading short English stories. She prefers happy ones about families or friends. When she reads, she pays attention to how the author uses grammar. For example, In a story about a girl's weekend, the author wrote, Lily woke up early on Saturday. She walked to the park where she met her friend. They played frisbee for an hour. In the afternoon, Lily helped her mom bake cookies. Xiao Ting noticed the author used past tense for everything because the story is about something that happened. She asked herself, why not present tense? Then she realized, present tense is for things that are happening now or are regular, but stories about the past use past tense. This helped her remember when to use past tense in her own writing. She also marks grammar points in her books. She underlines verbs in past tense, circles prepositions, or stars articles. This makes her more aware of grammar as she reads, and she often copies her favorite sentences into her notebook to practice later. Next, listening. Xiao Ting listens to a 10-minute English podcast every morning about people's daily lives. She pays attention to how the speakers use grammar. For example, one speaker said, I've been learning guitar for 6 months, but I still can't play very well. Xiao Ting recognized have been learning present perfect continuous, which she'd studied recently. She thought, he's talking about something he started 6 months ago and is still doing, so present perfect continuous makes sense. She then practiced the same grammar. I've been practicing yoga for 3 months. She also listens for how grammar makes speech flow. For example, speakers use short sentences with simple grammar when they're excited. I won. I won the game. And longer sentences with more complex grammar when they're explaining something. I think I won because I practiced every day after work. This helped her use grammar to match her mood. Short, simple sentences when she's happy, longer ones when she's explaining a plan. Then writing. Xiao Ting's journal is her favorite place to practice grammar. She doesn't just write about her day. She tries to use one new grammar point each day. For example, when she learned present perfect continuous, she wrote, I've been working on this project for a week. It's almost done. When she learned conditionals, she wrote, if I have time this weekend, I will visit my grandma. If I don't have time, I will call her instead. She also writes short messages to her English-speaking friend, Lisa, in Canada. Lisa never corrects her grammar directly, but she sometimes rephrases things gently. For example, if Xiao Ting writes, I finish work at 6, Lisa might reply, I'm glad you'll finish work at 6. We can video call then. Xiao Ting picks up on the will finish and remembers to use future tense for plans. Finally, speaking. Speaking is where Xiao Ting used to feel most nervous about grammar, but she found a simple trick. She talks to herself. When she's cooking, she says, I'm cutting vegetables now. I will put them in the pan in 5 minutes. Yesterday, I cut too many vegetables and had leftovers. When she's walking to work, she says the sky is blue today. I walked to work yesterday too. It was raining then. She also practices speaking with a small English club at her company. There are 3 other learners. They take turns talking about their hobbies, and they help each other with grammar. For example, when Xiao Ting said, I like read books, someone said, try I like reading books, like needs verb plus ing. Xiao Ting repeated it. I like reading books, and it stuck. Combining grammar with all 4 skills made Xiao Ting realize grammar isn't just a list of rules. It's a tool that helps her express her thoughts, understand others, and connect with people. It's not something she studies. It's something she uses every day. Part 7. Advanced Grammar Tips, taking it to the next level. Once Xiao Ting mastered the basics, She wanted to tackle more advanced grammar, things like conditionals beyond the simple ones, modals, passive voice, relative clauses, and reported speech. She didn't rush. She took one advanced topic at a time and always learned it in context. Let's start with advanced conditionals. Xiaoting learned about third conditional, which talks about things that didn't happen in the past. Like if I had studied harder, I would have passed the exam. She used this to talk about small regrets. If I had woken up earlier, I wouldn't have missed the bus. She practiced by writing down one small regret each week. Using third conditional, if I had remembered my umbrella, I wouldn't have gotten wet. Next, modals. Words like can, could, may, might, should, must. These words add meaning to verbs like ability, can, possibility, might, or advice, should. Xiaoting used modals to give advice to her colleague. You should take a break. You've been working all morning. She used them to talk about ability. I can cook simple Chinese food, but I can't cook Western food. She even used must for certainty. He must be tired. He worked 12 hours today. She practiced modals by making sentences about her daily life. I should call my parents tonight. I might go to the cinema this weekend. I can't swim, but I want to learn. Then, passive voice, which we use when we don't know who did an action or when the action is more important than the doer. Xiaoting learned this for work because passive voice is common in formal writing. For example, instead of our team will finish the report by Friday, active, focusing on the team, she writes the report will be finished by Friday, passive, focusing on the report. She practiced this by rewriting active sentences from her emails into passive ones. We sent the order yesterday. The order was sent yesterday. Relative clauses, using who, which, that, help make sentences more specific. Xiaoting used to say, I know a woman. She lives next door. Now, she combines them with a relative clause. I know a woman who lives next door. She practiced this by taking two short sentences and merging them. The book is on the table. It's my favorite. The book that's on the table is my favorite. Finally, reported speech, when you tell someone what another person said. Xiaoting learned this when she needed to pass a message from her boss to a colleague. Her boss said, I will be late for the meeting. Xiaoting told her colleague, the boss said she would be late for the meeting. She noticed the tense change from will to would, past tense, and she added that, though it's optional. She practiced this by reporting things her friends or family said. My mom said that she would make dumplings tonight. For every advanced grammar topic, Xiaoting followed the same rule. She didn't memorize the rule first. She found a real example of it in a podcast, email, or story, then practiced making her own examples. This kept advanced grammar from feeling overwhelming because it was always tied to something she could use in her life. Part 8. Building Grammar Confidence. From I'm scared to I can do this. The final, and maybe most important, step in mastering grammar is building confidence. Xiaoting used to freeze up when she had to speak or write in English. She was scared of making grammar mistakes and sounding stupid. But over time, she learned that confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about being brave enough to try. She started with small, achievable goals. For example, today I will use past simple correctly in 3 sentences when talking about my day. This week, I will write 5 emails using future simple for plans. By the end of the month, I will use 1 conditional sentence in a conversation with Lisa. These goals were small enough to feel doable, but big enough to make her feel proud when she achieved them. When she used past simple correctly 3 times in one day, she wrote in her notebook, "Goal done." I said, "I walked to work. I ate lunch with Ming. I watched a video, all past tense." She also stopped comparing herself to native speakers. She used to watch English movies and think, they never make grammar mistakes. Why can't I? But then she realized native speakers have been using English their whole lives. She's been learning for 2 years. Of course she'll make mistakes. Now, she compares herself to her past self. She looks back at her old emails and thinks, I used to write, I finish your order tomorrow. Now, I write, I will finish your order tomorrow. That's progress. Another trick was practice in low-pressure situations. Shouting started talking to herself in English more when she's cooking, walking, or folding laundry. No one is listening, so she can make mistakes without feeling embarrassed. She says things like, I'm folding clothes. This shirt is blue. I bought last month. If I have time tomorrow, I will wash the red one. This let her practice grammar without stress, and it made her more comfortable using it when she talked to others. She also celebrated small wins. When her client replied to her email saying, your message is clear. Thank you. She treated herself to her favorite coffee. When she used a conditional sentence correctly in a conversation with Lisa, if I go to Canada next year, I will visit you. She called her mom to share the good news. Celebrating small wins made her associate grammar practice with positive feelings, not stress. After 3 months of consistent practice, Xiaoting's confidence had grown so much that she volunteered to write the monthly English email for her team at work. Her boss said, your grammar has improved so much. This email is clear and professional. Xiaoting smiled. She never thought she'd be the one writing English emails for her team, but grammar had given her the confidence to try. Conclusion. Today, we've walked through Xiaoting's journey to mastering English grammar, from feeling scared of mistakes to using grammar confidently in work emails and conversations. We've learned that grammar isn't about strict rules or perfection. It's about using a tool to communicate clearly, connect with others, and feel proud of your English. We covered why grammar matters. It keeps your messages from being confusing, common challenges, tenses, prepositions, articles, and more, and how to overcome them. Learning grammar in context through videos, stories in your daily life. Step-by-step practice, starting with basics, then advancing. Understanding mistakes, their feedback, not failures. Combining grammar with all 4 skills and building confidence. Small goals, celebrating wins. Xiaoting's story shows that anyone can master grammar. You don't need to be good at languages. You just need to be consistent and kind to yourself. She spent 15 to 20 minutes on grammar every day, used examples from her own life, and didn't let mistakes stop her. Over time, grammar stopped feeling like a chore and started feeling like a friend, one that helps her say exactly what she means. So today, I want you to pick one small grammar goal for yourself. Maybe it's, I will use past simple correctly in 3 sentences tonight when writing in my journal. Maybe it's, I will listen for future simple in my next podcast. Whatever it is, make it small, make it doable, and be proud of yourself when you do it. Remember, grammar is not something to fear. It's a tool that will help you communicate with confidence, understand others easily, and open up new opportunities, whether that's a better job, a new friend, or a trip to a new country. Keep practicing, keep trying, and soon You'll be using grammar naturally without even thinking about it. Thank you for joining today's session. I can't wait to hear about your grammar progress. Keep going, you've got this.